As I start the recording and we get this session underway, is there anything you would like to say for our last day? Nope, nothing that goes out.
Oh yeah, so I just randomly well, because
all right, let's get started.
but I have one thing to say. How many of you are really enjoying the canvas?
As compared to
Well, you don't have any say.
You're not using Canvas. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah. Do you think that it's are you going to come to a point where you're going to like it better than Blackboard? You do?
for what? I have some questions about that. Why? What is somebody finding in the canvas that they like better?
The what if option in the grade book. The what if option in the grade book.
Well, how about the grade center? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The grade center, how to add up all the quizzes to quiz book.
Well,
including stuff in class that they've done in the classroom, not online.
well, you asked what I like.
Okay,
It's
that's
different
nice.
from Blackboard, and so I
I
can.
agree.
Yeah, I've heard that's nice.
I like the what if.
Yeah, the thing that I think is so great about it is the fact that every single student in every single class will get a similar interface. So you won't get those millions of questions in the first week. Where do I find this? Where do I find this? Because everybody has it in the same place in the module section. So I think that that's going to make a huge difference to students. And my perception of this whole thing is, I look at it as student success and student retention in your class. And now most of the online classes, the biggest problem is the students can't find the things that they want to find. So I think that that's going to make a huge difference. Yeah.
And by the way, I told Chris yesterday, I shamelessly stole some stuff from him.
I encourage you all to do that.
Because some of the stuff that you guys have posted on our training thing has been so clear that I just give it to the students on their first module so that they can say, okay, if I'm new to Blackboard or Canvas, here, this just shows me everything what to do.
And I've encouraged that for the last 2 courses that I've taught, and we have had, a lot of people were talking about, well, if Canvas is so overwhelming for the faculty, our students, those same resources that I told you that you're giving out to your students, those faculty have been doing it. No student complaints, no student issues. We haven't gotten any student issues.
One thing, though, that I asked him that we should do, our very first introduction video that he made, the screenshot, if it was cut down to about 5 minutes and just for students, that would be perfect for everybody to put right on.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, no, I'd like he needs more work to do.
Don't worry, I got the whip.
Make your own.
I don't know how to do that. It's gonna take me 6 days.
The other thing I just wanted to tell you that, firstly, we, are really thrilled that you come to this course and we've gone through it. It's important for you to do the evaluation. Give us any feedback you think is important. We are constantly changing this training program. And the only way we can change it to the better is if you give us feedback on it. So please, if you will do that. We are still here right through summer to support you. Chris will be working, I'll be working, if I come up with $1.06. But I will be around, and just 2 weeks at the beginning of July, I'm going on vacation, but otherwise I will be around. We are doing open lab kinds of things at the beginning of June. We're doing through professional development. So you will have umpteen opportunities to come in and see if your classes are planning to use it in the fall. If you are planning to use it in the fall, let us know, because we need to know how many are using Canvas to their classes. Even if you just use one, do one course in Canvas, the rest will be Blackboard. Just let me know what your plans are. Yeah.
I was just curious if you other people could mention other things they specifically like. Like last summer, I really redid my class, so it was fun to do it. But what are some specifics that I can help some my department? Like what are some other things that you like?
The eye appeal.
Eye appeal.
Yes, it looks less technical and more, current, contemporary.
No, I agree with you with that. The other thing I just wanted to tell you, Canvas constantly make changes to the Canvas instance of it. And what we will do, Chris and I will do, we'll make sure that if there's anything that really is important that they send to us, that we will send the information out to all of you so that you're fully aware of it. However, this summer they're planning to change the quiz function a bit because at this point there's been a lot of complaints about the pulling from publishers' pools. And so what they're going to do is change it. As soon as we get information, we will pass it on to you guys. So we'll keep a constant communication of what's going on with it.
Do you give them feedback?
Yes.
All the time.
I have a whole list of things I'd like to see improved. You know, tweaking.
But there's stuff here as we talk, as we get into here, I'm going to show you more on the Canvas community. That's one place that I want you guys to become much more involved in. There's a lot of places that you can network, communicate online that we can talk about, where you can get your message across. You can talk to them directly is what we're trying to say.
Oh, great. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we want to keep the flow of
You don't need to sell
communication.
them. They don't have an option. We like Trump to say that because I said it.
I've always liked using something like this because, I mean, faculty die, not to be morbid, but like if everything is in here, then if anything happens to me, like my students don't like, I'll just automatically get an A or something because nobody can find my grade book or
That's
something.
right. And it's happened at Blackboard College. Really.
And I'm
I
saying,
also
yeah,
hate carrying
I was just
papers.
saying via Blackboard. Not via not having any.
Oh, there's no choice.
Well, it doesn't matter where,
Well,
either
that's
way,
what-
because
I
we
wasn't
have
there.
Canvas.
You don't have to sell them out, just sell it,
That's
that's better. And because
Okay,
then they don't give an option.
Chris is going to love to cover this for you.
All right, here's the agenda for today. We're going to talk about the Grossmont Canvas user group. I'm going to show you more about the Grossmont Canvas community and a group that I created that I hope to develop more over the summer and fall semester. How many people would like to transfer stuff from Blackboard to Canvas? Do you have stuff you like? We're going to go over that. I'm going to show you how to import your course from one Canvas sandbox to another. So you've started developing your courses. You got 2 modules completed. How do you get that into an official course, the course that you want to be teaching? And this is kind of an open discussion here. So we can either do an open session on questions. We can talk about your final project if you have any issues with that. There's a couple mentions about grades. We didn't talk about that or anything else you feel important. So once we get to number 5, I'll leave that open and I'll go with whatever the group conscious decides.
I'll put in for grades right now.
Okay. 1, we got Phil, we got Cliff. You mentioned grades too, if you wanted to talk about that. All right, we'll talk about grades. So then for number 5, I'll talk about grades. I'll do a quick overview, but definitely as when we kind of finish up for where do we go from here, there's so many things. We've gotten so much feedback from faculty on all the things that you have issues with and you want to improve on. So that way we didn't sit there and decide on specific Canvas topics that we wanted to do for Professional Development Week. So for Professional Development Week, we're going to be doing Canvas labs. These labs are going to be targeted for faculty members that we've taught. I think we've 80 to 100 faculty members that we've trained so far through this course. So you'll come into those, and then anything that anything you want to address, we'll address. It might be on an individual basis if Susan wants to talk about tables. But if there's an overall group conscious within the lab that wants to talk about grades, it might turn into a lecture thing. So we kind of try to keep it open for you. So definitely with professional development, we tend to get more focused on the things that you want. But for today, as far as grades, it's going to be just real quick. There's some quick points that we'll cover.
Well, like maybe during Flex Week, you may have a section on just gradebook. So people can just come in and learn.
No, like I said, with the way that we plan, there's so many people with so many different issues. We don't have these set specific discussion board, grade center, and everything else. We're going to have an open lab. So either way, as an individual, Janet or either I could sit down with you specifically and talk about the grade center if that's something specific to you, or if that's an interest to the group, we could bring it open to a lab. But doing these open labs is the only way that we can guarantee that all of you, the widest part of the group, is going to get their specific issues resolved. So there won't be any specific workshops. They're going to just be Canvas open labs. because we've done that in the past. We used to do, and the reason why we did that, because I see a little confusion on your face. We used to do specific Blackboard workshops, but faculty members come in. Well, if he was teaching in Blackboard, he might have an issue with the discussion board. This person might, and it was so broad, but it was one specific thing. Not everybody that were coming to these workshops were getting their questions answered. Once we decided to do Blackboard open labs, just strict labs, no topic, Blackboard, you could sit in the corner, do your Blackboard work, or you could come in and answer your questions. Those open labs proved to be so successful where the widest majority of faculty members all got their questions or issues resolved. And so we're going to take what's been proven and what we had practiced in Blackboard, and we're going to apply it to Canvas for the fall semester.
And our mentors are going to be helping us see some of them, depending on the number of people that sign up.
Question. So we all had discussions. What did you think of the discussion board? Did it help talking about in this course with the conversations as far as getting an idea of where faculty are at and everything else? For the conversations, you enjoyed it? Would you like to continue that? Would that be something to collaborate with faculty members and get an idea? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, responding to other people.
Perfect.
Ideally, if it's, again, targeted, like there could be a discussion board on just how to use grades, or a discussion board on just how to use, put videos.
Well, what we want to do, so what I'm going to do is I'm leading into the Grossmont Canvas users group. So as we are in Canvas, I all want you to do this. In the global navigation, click on the help link right here. Come over here, click on the very top, say search the Canvas guides. First off, as you grow in your experience with Canvas, I want you folks to become familiar with this service, because a lot of these things, a lot of what Canvas has to offer, Blackboard doesn't. Another reason, you know, Cliff, you know, when you talk about why do I personally like Canvas over Blackboard? Because Blackboard doesn't even come close to the amount of resources it provides its community on how to use Canvas, both from the, when we click on the Canvas guides, both from the instructor view and both from the student view. The resources here are unparalleled, and there's no excuse for anyone not to find anything and everything regarding, bless you, regarding Canvas, on how to use Canvas from any perspective. That's probably my most impressive thing. The amount of support here is unparalleled. So when you get through and you have an issue, go through the Canvas guides. If we can search through here, we talk about, you know, Cliff wants to learn about grades. I can search about grades automatically. We get, how do I automatically create groups in a group set? How do I manage, how do I create, oh, these are all groups. Should I type in groups? They have stuff on groups. They have stuff on grades. You can find a million things about that. So if we go into the Canvas guides, I can go into the instructors. And considering that I'll only give a broad overview as far as grades are concerned today because of the short amount of time, you could click on here, write grades. Here's everything that, how do I use the grade book? How do I view assignments individually in the grade book? How do grading periods? Anything and everything you want to learn about grades are here. So if I wanted, how do I curve grades? In Blackboard, you can't curve grades. In Canvas, you can. If you want to learn how to curve grades in the grade book, you can go over here. It comes through like a tutorial in the same format and how I do my tutorials in many ways when I do documents that I send you folks.
You don't know what the word calculated columns is in the grade book, right?
There's no, you can't, once we get into the grading columns, you can't create it. Calculated columns in Blackboard, forget that methodology. There's a different way to approach it, and when we get to grades, I'll get to that. So right now we talk about using that as far as Canvas. There's a student guide here as well. Anything and everything regarding the students. If there's something you find that you're going to be doing that's in relation to what the student needs to do, whether it's, let's go ahead and talk about grades again. If they want to know how do I view my grades in a current course, you can click on this, and maybe you want to include maybe you want to include this in your, a link to this in your course. How do I view my current grades in a course? Have a page on that so they understand how to view their grades. This is something there as well. Now and then there's also a lot of Canvas basics. There's super basic stuff. that you can review. There's just a wealth of information here. Please take advantage of this service. Clicking on the Canvas logo up at the top right, we are taken to the Canvas community. Here is where the entire community for Canvas is involved, and there are a bunch of groups that you can take advantage of. The first thing I want you to do up in the very top right, it's going to ask you to log in. I want you to click on that. Now I'm already logged in. I've already registered for the group, but a few of you are going to ask to sign up.
Is that Jive?
Yeah, click on log in.
I don't know if I remember my password.
Click on log in right there. In the top right hand corner, I want you to click on login. It's going to forward you to a login page. It's going to ask you for your username. I think I've already done this too. Just basic information. So if you fill in first name, last name, email.
So is that, am I logged, do I have an account or what?
But as we look at the rest of the form, it says it wants to fill out your first name, your last name, and then an email address. So put in your first name. What's your first name?
I don't know.
Bill, you fill in Bill. Last name Hoagland. And then go ahead and click submit. And you'll be registered for the Canvas community.
I've already been getting notices from them.
Yeah.
Is there
Emails.
any, by any chance, are they gonna adjust it as it gets more adopted here on campus, from IT, are they gonna adjust it so we can not use our birth date or password?
That's district. That's not Canvas. That's not instructor related. That's district.
Yeah, I figured that was our IT. Well, is there any chance we're gonna, I just hate doing that.
So the question is, and for the Zoom recording, the question is for the password. Typically, it's your Blackboard, it's your 6-digit birth date. Canvas, it's your 8-digit birth date.
But it's Blackboard, I just not noticed that it saved it all this time. Blackboard's still the same. I thought you guys adjusted it.
You can change your password, but the default is always going to be your 6-digit birth date. I think you can, and by the end, if we can, I think there's a way you can actually change it. All right, so I want to talk about the Grossmont. Now that you've logged in, if you've logged in, successfully logged in, up at the very top, there's answers, ideas, groups. I want you to click on groups. Once you get on the groups page, I want you to click on view all groups. In the view all groups, up over here, over in the left-hand corner, there's a field box. You see where it says all group types, and then it says type to filter by text. I want you to type in the word Grossmont. This is a Grossmont Canvas users group, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. Once you do this, you can either, I think you can click on it. Susan, I want to see you click on the title, click on the link title. Yep. And then click on the link title, and it's going to say ask to join this group. Please ask to join this group.
Are you
I have
gonna let me in?
So in the type filter box, type in Grossmont. Type in Grossmont there. And then say, click ask to join group. I want you to ask to join group. Now, this is something, I mean, as far as the busy schedule and everything else, I haven't had a chance to develop, but what this is going to be a place where we communicate. We take what we've established in this course as far as how we discuss stuff, and then we communicate and work together to solve all our issues. Typically with Blackboard and everything else, everything, it's like in this room, and then it filters down to this one spot. Janet, if she was standing up here, she would be here with me. We can only do so much for you folks. There's only so much time where I get a dozen emails a day and I don't get a chance to answer all of you. I would like to help all of you, but we don't. It's impossible for us to do this whole bigger picture, especially as this training program expands throughout the summer and fall semester. So this way, You can come up here, you can ask a question, you can start a discussion. Here are the active discussions. The library department provided some resources. I started doing stuff, and after this, since this class is over for the summer, I plan on posting more stuff here. If you email me, you can still email me asking questions as far as how to do specific things. But if you ask me something specific on how to do something in Canvas, I'm going to answer it on this group. Because I want the public, I want us to become more of a community and work together as we address some of the issues and things, challenges that we face in Canvas. That's what this group is going to be used for. So please take advantage of it once I sit here. Up at the top here, there's also some community guidelines. And then there's a bunch of different information that you can sit here and use. And I will be posting a lot more here starting as of next week. And I encourage for any issues that you have or any ideas, things you want to share, icons and graphics or anything new you learn, please share it up here on the Grossmont users group. Going back to the groups, there's one more group I think you should join. We're going to go back to click on groups. And then I'm going to say view all groups. Right down at the bottom here, or right down here, middle group, it says California Community Colleges. Click on that link. Ask to join that group. What is the California Community Colleges group? Well, the California Community Colleges is a group of... Janet, can you explain the California Community Colleges group?
California Community Colleges is part of the OEI, which is the Open Education Initiative. So a lot of stuff that goes through here is free to faculty. So there are applications, there are communities that you work together as a group. You know, with 96 community colleges in California already, thinking or going to campus, there's a huge group of people who are combined and we find the colleges out there. So a lot of the information comes from other community colleges. It's monitored by the state council.
So when you're talking about, some of you have mentioned showing other things and seeing what other instructors have done in Canvas or anything else. This is a group you want to be a part of. Because you can go in, you can network, you can learn with other people all around in the state of California and get an idea of how they are learning Canvas. You can go in and press your group. If you're going in, Chris is teaching a criminals investigation course. If he has a challenge, he's taking a 16-week course, pressing it down to 8. If he has a challenge on how to design that, he could go up here and get input as far as that stuff is done. So for example here, where we talk about how to use transitioning from another LMS, I can find an answer. There's a bunch of questions here that you can sit there and go through. They do live webinars, they do exercises, they do a bunch of stuff here. So I definitely I recommend taking advantage of this. So once you they approve your membership for the California Community Colleges group, and then once I get a chance to approve you for the Grossmont group, you can come back here, you click on groups, and then you click on my groups, view my groups, and then you'll see all the groups that you belong to. The Grossmont Canvas group, I will post a direct address to this in the announcements later today, so you can have a direct link to this, so you can bookmark this for future reference. So that's the Canvas community, that's the Canvas guides. As you continue to learn and grow in Canvas, I definitely recommend taking advantage of those, especially with the Grossmont Canvas users group. Any support questions that you ask me, unless they're personal in nature, if they relate specifically on how to do something in Canvas, I'm going to post it on the group. Any questions on that before we continue? All right, so let's talk about where this course is going. So as we know, tonight, the final project, and well, actually, you have 2 assignments due. Post your syllabus, which the majority of you have already done. And then you have your final project submission. That's due today at 11:59 p.m. At 12 a.m. Saturday morning, participation in this course will end, meaning you will not be able to submit anything. You will not be able to post any discussions. You will not be able to do anything. You still can view the resources. So any resources and you want to review and everything else, you still can view those. How do you view those? At 12 a.m. Saturday morning, this course, this GC2 course over here is going to disappear from the dashboard. It's going to go into courses, all courses, and in past enrollments, you'll see it listed right here. You won't be able to add it to your dashboard, but you can still click on the course and you'll still be able to see it. You'll still be able to access that information.
So that's the way that we're gonna have access for.
Yes.
Can't put it back to our dashboard.
You can't pin it back to your dashboard because it's that participation in the course is ended. Anything that's ended. So you just go into the course and then you say all courses, and then you can, what you could also do is like for this one, what you can do is just, you know, this is the old course. This is the second course that I taught this semester. If you want to go into there and then just copy the address, you can just copy the address, bookmark it in your favorite bookmarking tool in your browser, and then you can just go to it at any time.
So when fall schedule comes out, the fall classes will automatically.
Fall should already be in there.
Already in there, yeah.
Oh, are they?
If you ever, like, dashboard is for what you want to see. Just because you look in the if I look at this dashboard, it's all, these are things that I specifically want to see in my course. However, if I was an actual instructor, I'm not going to rely on this because all of my courses or any newly created courses are going to be in your courses section. And you want to click on all courses to see if anything new has been created.
Can you delete them out of it?
No. What's listed here is what's listed here. We have to talk by the end of district. So I'm still personally learning the administrative side of all of this. And by the end of the spring semester, we have a talk with district and with Canvas itself on how to properly conclude a current semester as you transition into a new one, how to conclude the current courses. So, but as right now, I can't. Yes?
Let's see, in our department, we end up often adding or chopping and changing sections kind of at the last minute. What's the turnaround time going to be for the, I'm not going to call them containers, but for the Canvas courses to appear in the correct instructors?
So let me say that again. So the question was, during the last moment in your department, instructors, there's last minute changes for who might be teaching a specific section. Am I correct on that?
Changes and additions.
Changes and additions to specific sections. How long is the turnaround time within that? For Canvas, for the Canvas sandboxes, I personally cannot answer that because that is not my responsibility. That is the responsibility of district. You would need to ask Debbie Smith. So it's DEBBI.Smith, SMITH, at gccccd.edu. And that would be something for her to answer because that's how she handles those changes.
The process is that when you change a class, you change instructor, and you fill out a change schedule form, which then goes to dean for signature. It then goes to the business operations department.
Instructional services or something.
And then it just changed. So it has, I would say, probably a couple of days. Yeah. Once they create it, unlike Blackboard, you have to wait for 24 hours. The minute they create it, you can use it.
But there's an initial process. So what has to happen is what's the section you're teaching?
Possibly astronomy.
So astronomy, there's astronomy, what is it? What is it?
120.
So astronomy 120. So in Colleague, which works with Web Advisor, in Colleague, there is an instructor of record, Philip Lenko, that's teaching astronomy 120. To get that to register into Blackboard, you have to follow through with well, I'm just saying in general, as far as the process, how it works. The Blackboard or Canvas, you have to follow the process that what Janet said. There's a specific form you have to fill out. That form has to get approved or signed off by your dean. That dean takes it to, I believe, instructional operations, where they update Colleague. That updates Web Advisor. Then that gets set up to district, and that whole process, I don't know how long it takes, but that's how you initially start it. So when those things change, once they change and you officially know that Philip's no longer teaching astronomy 120, he's teaching quantum physics 330, you need to jump on that if there's a tight deadline for when you're actually starting to teach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll talk to Debbie and find out, is it as easy as just flipping a software switch, or if it involves more to do with uploading your enrollment, that kind
Well, it's all dependent. Your dependence is on instructional operations. That's where it goes. Only Debbie handles the information as far as what she gets from her.
Once it goes into advisor, the students are automatically enrolled.
They're automatically enrolled.
Okay.
So when Debbie creates that cost, creates changes to that cost, whether it's number, whether it's whatever it is, then it will. Yeah,
Okay.
and then it's download.
I found Blackboard, that happens in Blackboard within a day. It's been
Yeah,
very
once it's in,
fast.
yeah, it's been.
When they assign me a section, there it is.
All right. In Unit 5, scroll down. First thing that I want to mention, Janet mentioned as far as the 5.8 course evaluation, I created an announcement on this. Please, we ask, as you submit your stuff in today, please fill this out. Please give your honest opinion. This information goes forward. If nobody fills this out, we have no idea as far as how you learn, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what needs to be improved. This feedback goes greatly into helping not only training for future faculty members that are going to take this course, this goes into future improvements as far as how I teach you folks in general, because I guarantee you, you and I will be in the same room again sometime in the future regarding some topic or anything else. And if you don't provide your feedback on how we've done, there's no way that we can figure out how to improve in any and all trainings that we offer through our distance education initiatives. So please, for the final thing that you do tonight, fill this out before 11:59 p.m. tonight. It would be greatly appreciated.
No
Now,
way we can fill it out after the deadline for
We won't be there.
you won't be able to do it.
Okay.
All right.
I was just thinking that I'm going to start grading at 1 minute past 4.
Yeah, and that's also one thing too as a process. I won't be grading the final projects. Janet, starting next week, how the process is going to work. Janet's going to help me grade those. She's going to send me those evaluations back. They'll reflect in the grade center. If you pass this course with an 80% or above, you get a fancy certificate with your name and our signatures on it saying you completed the course, plus 20 hours of professional development credit. Hope, give us, please, 2 weeks to get that done, starting Monday, because there's a lot of stuff that we have to do, at least 2 weeks or more before we can get that done. Yes,
You
sir.
don't get the professional development credit if you
Yes, you
fail.
do, but you've got to fill out the form and give it to a dean.
Well, at 80%. Well, if you don't pass it with an 80% or above, no. If you don't, you get an 80, and you're doing fine. I looked at your course. You're fine. Don't worry about it. 80% or above, you get your credit. 80% or above, 79.9% or below, you don't get your credit.
79.5.
79.5.
You round up at 0.5. That's
Well, good to know.
a mathematical convention.
I didn't even establish that, so I'm going to go by that. 79.5.
Round up.
Round up.
Is the PD credit for the entire next academic year?
Janet, is the professional development credit, when can they apply it? Can they apply it for summer, fall, spring, when it, fall, for fall?
Fall only. Fall only.
It's all over.
I thought it could be applied this semester.
I did too.
I had it, you need it for the semester,
Yeah.
and make sure that form gets to your dean ASAP.
Well, I already submitted a form to my dean way back when. Okay. Because otherwise we have
Let me tell you
9
something,
hours.
that, this college is not like
No,
Yes,
really?
yes, because the chances of this particular professional development at any time, doesn't matter whether it's summer, whether it's fall, whether it's spring, and you should get whatever hours paid for it. But not here, so.
That's the nicest word I could find.
Trying to be polite. But I am going to present to the admin council next Tuesday, and that's one of the things I'm going to bring up, that it's really important. We can't adjust our training to this, the 12 weeks or whatever. So we've got to make sure that it's your dean that has to do this. They, at this point, they should know, because I've told them a million times that, these forms are going to come in. So if you need it for this semester, get it to them before the end of the semester. Okay? And if you need this
And if you haven't gotten a certificate, you pass the course 80% or above, but you're still waiting on your certificate, and they need, if you're dean or they need somebody to vouch for it until that certificate comes into play, just let either one of us know if you have any issues with that.
I think our dean is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that all are at this point, they want to see, you know, the set, and they know what we can. So I compliment you.
All right, let's move on. I want to talk about getting content out of Blackboard and into Canvas. All right, so 5.6, you have a content page here. Tonight, I would recommend highly clicking on this Blackboard to Migration Guide link and downloading it.
You have to have submitted a final project to see that, right?
You'll still be able to see it.
Oh.
Nothing, it's not, you'll still be able to access the resources. You just won't be able to post anything or submit any
If you go down
assignments.
looking at Unit 5,
We
you
can't
haven't
see it
submitted my
now.
project, grayed out.
If you haven't submitted your final project, yeah.
Grayed out.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of hours before I submit.
You know, I will make that, I will change that later today. I will change that later today. I will take the requirements off. All right, so at the very bottom, there is a video of me, and I'm going to demonstrate that right now, of me copying a discussion board from Blackboard to Canvas. Watch that video, please. If you do not watch that video, the one thing that I influenced that you must read, download this, save this, everything else. This is a guide from the California Community College's Open Educational Initiative on converting from Blackboard to Canvas. It talks about Blackboard content, its equivalent in Canvas, and how do you use the tools. There's other information here. I mean, it goes all.
Wait, could you go back? Grade Center?
Grade book. It's called the Grade Book in Canvas.
So we can copy that?
No, you can't. No, it's what it's saying is in Blackboard, it's called the Grade Center. In Canvas, it's called the Grade Book. Here are videos on how to use documentation here. There's no, in journals, there's no equivalent. So in Blackboard, you have these personal journals that students can create. There's no equivalent to journals. So there's a workaround down at the bottom of the document on how to use, there's a alternative as far as using journals, a journal-like feature in Canvas. But as we come down, it talks about recommendations as far as importing tools. Importing separately, do not. When you're taking Canvas and you're looking at your Blackboard course, there are a few faculty members that have taken this course in the past that thought it was just a one-click thing where they could take all of their house in Blackboard and just move it straight over into Canvas. Do not do that. I can't tell you how many times I've given the same speech regarding this document, and there's at least one or two faculty members in a course that do not listen to me, and they take all of Blackboard, move it into Canvas, and if you take the whole Blackboard house, move it into Canvas, it's not going to work, and you're going to have a nightmare trying to manage everything on your hands. When this document, what it does, it enforces import everything separately. So when we talk about things that can import, you can export and import discussion boards, assignments, quizzes, using the import content tool, announcements, assignments, calendar, discussion, glossary, grade center, tests, test surveys, and pools. William, this has nothing to do with you, by the way, so you can. But you can do these things. Notice, we're going to get into that. That's where we're going to log into. So what I want you to make clear on, these are the things that you go through. You know, in Blackboard, when you go into Blackboard, if I log into Blackboard right now, I log into Blackboard, never, and let's go into this course. In the Blackboard, when you go into like your course content, so in this section, this instructor, this is a shell course, this is a dummy course, all of this course content, this is what I call like the modules section. I'm going to relate to Canvas. It would relate to modules. These modules right here, as we look at this content here, is the actual course content in this course. That's how they correlate. That's how they relate together. This stuff, I would recommend continuing on the same process that you've been doing as far as creating the actual written content for your course. However, you can do discussions, assignments. If you want to transport tests, anything else, you can transfer those things over. Does that make sense, what I just said? All right. So in here, we have, I don't know if this course has any quizzes. Does this course have any quizzes? I am seeing if this course has any quizzes. Yes, it does. All right. So I just reset this course right here. This is my training sandbox. If I look in this course right here in quizzes, there is nothing here. So per Zoe's request, I'm going to show you how to export your quizzes from Blackboard into Canvas. One thing. In the video that I watch, or that you'll watch, I'm showing you how to export a discussion board from Blackboard to Canvas. All right. In Blackboard, you would click on, if you're writing this down, which you probably should, otherwise I know you'll watch my video later on tonight. You click on, in the control panel, you click on Package and Utilities. Click on Package and Utilities, and then you click on Export Archive Course.
What's the first click you made?
In the Blackboard course, you're going to refer to your control panel. Then you will click on Package and Utilities. And then the third item you will click is Export Archive Course. Does everybody have that written down?
That's just to get like one piece of it.
And then one piece, you do one piece at a time. So one more time, Package and Utilities, Export Archive Course. Once you get on the Export Archive menu, you click on Export Package. Now, when we talk about, when I reference the content areas, so when I showed you in that course over, when I click on modules, this modules for this course, this is what Blackboard calls a content area. So content area in Blackboard is the modules in Canvas. This stuff, these content areas, you will recreate manually in Canvas. That's the recommended practice if you read that document. However, in the video, I click on, if I want to just export my discussion boards, that's all I click. I don't click anything else. And then I would click Submit. If I want to just export my announcements, that's all I click. Nothing else. I click Submit, creates an export package. But in this instance, we want to do tests, surveys, and pools. That is all I click, nothing else. You do not test surveys and pools. I'm not going to click my discussion boards. I'm not going to click my announcements. I'm not going to click my calendar as one whole package. I am just going to create one package, and I'm kind of drilling this home because a lot of faculty members didn't understand this point in the last two semesters or last two courses. I create one package that's just tests. Once I do that, I click Submit. Hopefully that won't take long. There's a line up here. The action's been queued. Email we sent when the process is complete. Let's refresh here. Hopefully that'll come through here. And as we go through this, as I wait for this, any questions you may have regarding this process or any general questions now that we have as this process. Oh, there we go. I'll take Cliff's and then Sue's and then we'll get back to this.
Yeah, like I have another button in my Blackboard that says lectures and videos. So all the PowerPoints, a bunch of videos per chapter. So, but the one you set up in Canvas has like 6 or 7 pre-subscribed buttons.
Right.
So I just create a brand new button called lectures and videos. or something.
You create a new module called lectures and videos and everything else. You could go into your files. So the question is, if you have a lot of files in Canvas, you can download as well, but there's no export as far as here. You would have to go to your files section, and I can do that one-on-one with you folks, and then download these items here.
I had in Blackboard an area called lectures and videos.
That's a content area.
Right.
That content area, as I stated, is equivalent, is called a module in Canvas. Those content areas you will recreate. However, what you need to do is get the files out of Blackboard, which, as I mentioned, you'll click on the Files section here, and I won't go into detail about this, but basically what you do, you click on for Files. Over here, you click on Files. Here, you select what you download. So you want to download all those videos and all those lectures. You click that, you download a package, and then you'll do the same thing that I'm about to do for these tests.
So if we have a module for each week in Canvas, then you suggest another module called like resources.
It all depends on how you design your course.
Or you put the individual things within each week.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
did.
kind of
Usually, but actually you want to, the idea with Canvas and everything else, you want students, I want to be aware of what we're focused on, what applies to me this week.
Right.
I don't want a file section. The idea here is we're trying to establish a convention here that just has a laundry list of files, lectures, and everything else that's throughout the semester that doesn't apply to me. I want to know what's applied to me this week, that what I need to focus on that, because that's why I try to focus on unit or week-to-week basis.
Finally, they want to read it all. So rather than
Well, either way, that's design stuff, and I want to get back on track. So Susan, you had a question?
Okay, if we take something from Blackboard and put it into Canvas,
Mm-hmm.
then if we want to play with it, the Canvas rules apply, right? Like, so there's the grade center,
Right,
and I copy that into the grade book.
right,
So I'll end up with the columns.
right,
But now if I want to play around with the columns, I'm using Canvas rules.
right.
Okay.
Quick question, Will?
Well, this doesn't pertain to me, but why would you copy the grade center anyway? Because that changes from semester to semester. You're not going to change.
It depends on, that's pertinent as far as faculty. There's some faculty that have taught in Blackboard that their courses, their stuff stays the same, and they just copy it from one Blackboard course, and it just goes for one.
I have always copied them.
Yeah. All right, let's get back on course. I got my file here. We got the export file here, the zip file. It's a zip file. I click on this, or I don't click on that. I'm going to say, I'm going to right click. I'm going to hover my link over the export file. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say save link as. I'm going to say that one more time. I'm going to hover the link, hover my mouse over the export file, right click, and then say save link as. It's going to give me an export file. Typically, I personally save everything from desktops. My memory's shoddy, and I know the desktop is going to be the easiest place for me to find stuff. So I'm going to save this file to my desktop. Quick note about these zip files. You don't extract these, don't open these, leave the clothes that are in this suitcase closed. Faculty members have tried to sit there and download these files and try to open them and say, okay, now I have my tests. I can sit there, I can work with them and everything else on my computer. No, it's in a Blackboard format, in a Blackboard language. You have no program on your computer that can understand what's in this package. So don't open it. What you do is you go back into Canvas. You click on Settings. And let me move my face out of the way. In the right-hand corner, you want to import content into this course. Click on that. For the content type, click the drop-down menu and select Blackboard 6789 Export Zip File. Are we good so far? If we're good, you continue. You would choose a source file, which is the zip file you just downloaded. So I would click on Choose File. I'm going to select that export file, and then I'm going to click Open. Default question bank, if you had question banks existing in your Canvas course, you would select those, but for right now, since we don't, we're going to leave that there. These are all tests. I want all my tests here. If you said select specific content, you can select only certain tests that you wanted. I want to go ahead and say all content. And then the options we don't need right now. So we have everything set here. Blackboard 6, 7, 8, 9, export is selected. The source, we've chosen our zip file. Content, all content selected. Once that's all situated, click on import. And let's see what happens. Now, I know I'm kind of going real fast over this. Like I said, if you go over 5.6, Zoe, if you want to review 5.6, I think it's 5.6, there's a video there that I go over this process. I talk about, in the video, I talk about discussions. But remember, it's only one item you select. So as I talk about discussions in the video, if you need to remember, okay, how do I do tests instead of discussions, just select tests. Yeah. So the video goes over this in detail. Now, let's note this too. This will happen either when you import stuff from Blackboard, or it might happen when you do from one Canvas course to, or a Sandbox to another. Don't ignore these two issues here. Sometimes if I click on this, there is an error in some questions here. If I click on this, this is not going to make sense to me. All I know is that in a test, there's some error here. If I click on it, it's actually going to go to the actual test. And it says right here, there is an error message. This question was imported from an external source. It was an error. For some reason, it didn't like this question. So the thing that I'm trying to drill home here is the import process might not be perfect. It's not going to be detrimental because, as you can see, for the rest of this test, the test is perfect. There's only one question here that I have a problem with that I would have to address. So just don't naturally assume that if you import everything, it's going to import correctly. So there's only two areas here that I have an issue with, and it will go directly to that arrow. And I think Blackboard Instructor Survey, it's the same thing. These two arrows point to the same thing. So now I know it's like, okay, I consider and the questions here, it's just, I don't know what the answers are or whatever, and I could just redo this question. So the point here that I'm trying to make is when you have this error here, take a look at these issues. It will take you to a specific point. You will know, and then you can figure out what those issues are. So these are quizzes. It's completed. If I click on my quizzes section, you will see that this was once empty. Now this is full. So I have my final exam. There's 30 sections here. I can sit here, edit. I can do all the changes that I want for any questions. And that's how you import stuff or export stuff from Blackboard, import it into Canvas. For a more detailed, again, it's 5.6 Unit 5. You will make sure and download this Canvas migration guide and watch my video because it goes into a more detailed version as far as what I did. I did real quickly on this one. Are there any questions regarding this process, specifically the process that I just outlined?
I just want to make one comment here about this. And this is something that's happening out there and happening really fast. What has happened with the Sacramento, the Chancellor's office has discovered that in actual fact, publishers' websites and publishers' content does not meet FERPA standards. Now, FERPA standards is for privacy. So, because what they're doing is they are grading the stuff where you're putting students' names, addresses, and everything else, what that student gives to them in their own database to use for whatever reason they want. So you're going to see down the line where there's going to be a point where the state is going to come to us and say, you cannot use publishers' website sites embedded in your course. So just watch out. Yeah, I know. Just watch out for that. At the moment, the only college that is complying with that is Southwestern down in
Chula Vista?
In Chula Vista. And they are not putting any publisher's website LTI on their Canvas site in order to comply with that. We have decided not to do that yet. We're waiting for direction from them. We're trying to, the whole thing is to work with the publishers that they don't use that information, that they comply with FERPA requirements. So just watch that and I'll keep you informed as it starts coming. Yeah.
So if they decide to comply, then we'll continue to use it?
Yes,
Or,
yes.
but so in other words, we shouldn't try and put in our course.
No,
now
you
that-
can. You can at this point. It might take some time before this happens, but I just want to give you a heads up. 99% of our faculty want to make sure.
So when Janet's talking about publisher websites, she's talking about Cengage, Pearson, McGraw-Hill, those type of content services.
And it's privacy of students. it's
FERPA,
issue.
FERPA, that's FERPA. Just Google FERPA when you get home.
Under the settings done,
Right.
Back to the import question.
we have
Yeah.
loaded
Doesn't it say
all
it's
the
just question
LTIs.
bank?
If
You
there
import
are
stuff
some
that's not?
missing that you
Yes.
need personally, please make sure.
You can import,
and I'll
when I
make
talked
sure
about, in that document, I'll tell you the items. You can import discussion boards, you can import anything, any discussion boards, announcements. The only things you can't import are content areas.
It just says default question bank.
Those are question banks that already exist in Canvas. So if I was importing an actual test and I wanted to go to a specific question bank that I've created, I can say I wanted to go to my midterm.
Right, but I'm not importing a quiz, I'm importing videos.
You can do, yeah, that's fine. You wouldn't import videos. You would go into your files and you would files for videos. You would just go ahead and upload those. But for videos, I wouldn't recommend uploading them directly into Canvas. I would recommend uploading them to 3C Media Solutions and then embedding them into Canvas. But that's another discussion.
You basically can't take a folder of videos.
I wouldn't recommend doing it. You're going to lose your space up really quickly. And plus 3C Media, I've already talked about, their captioning services are stellar and it's free and you don't have any service limit. Their services are unlimited. So 3C Media Solutions, that's where you should upload your videos. And then later on, I can meet with you one-on-one to show you how to embed them. So you have one question?
Just about our Sandbox to another course. That's much easier. We can copy the whole thing.
I'm going to show you that right now. And we're actually going to, if you want to do it, now, if you want to follow along with what I'm about to do, so what I'm about to do right now, we're going to copy a Canvas Sandbox from one Sandbox to another. So the idea here is you're going to take your content in your GC Canvas Training Sandbox, and you're going to take it to an official course that you're going to be teaching summer or fall. So in your dashboard, or in your courses, I don't know where they are, for whatever your content is, or whatever the course you've made to go in, I want you to go into that actual course. So I think fall courses have been developed.
Yeah.
So let's go courses here. So what course have you been doing? Math 110, 178? So that's what you plan on teaching?
No, it would be fall. This
Fall. So go for the content you've been developing. If you want to do another course just for basic stuff, that's fine. You can do it. So I just want you to be in the actual official course that you're going to be teaching in. There's no content in it. It's completely blank. If you want to take one of your other courses that, an old course because I know some 2016 or some past semesters, you want to do that for practice, that's fine too. I am in my training sandbox. I reset the course. I deleted everything in it, so I want to start off fresh. So you're going to be in the course your official course that you're going to be teaching. Click on Settings. Click on Import Content into this course. Or actually, copy this course. Stop right there. Stop right there. I had a brain fart. Settings, import content into this course. You click on Settings, and in the right-hand column, it's Import Content into this course. Content type is Copy a Canvas course. This is what you want. Now, mine looks different on yours. You should see, so you can say Copy a Canvas course. Now, I don't have a drop-down menu for mine. I'm not an official teacher. So mine, you would say, in your select for a course, you're going to click on the drop-down menu. And then you're going to select the course that where you're going. So you're going to select your training sandbox course. First, okay. You're going to select your training quals. So select training quals. You click on the drop-down menu, select Hoagland, training Hoagland. Does everybody have that set? You're gonna say, you could do you want all content. Now, look up on screen right now. By the way, I have to get my ID here for this one, so let me do this. I don't have mine selected.
Just due dates.
That's what I'm about to explain.
Sorry.
GC2. All right, so I have my course selected. Look up on screen here. For this import, do not do this. I'm about to explain this if this were official. So let's say this is a spring semester. We're getting ready for the summer semester. We're transferring our stuff over, those dates change. So if you're wanting to adjust your due dates, you would click on Adjust Events and Due Dates.
You always have to do that if we're going from one semester to another.
Yeah. So the idea here, this actual course began on April 3rd. So let's pretend that's the start of the when did the spring start? January 29th? Well, we'll say that. So spring started, let's say Monday the 30th. When does summer start?
June 12th.
June 12th. So I would say for the summer, June 12th. So end date, so the end date for the semester for the spring, so we'll just say June 11th, or we'll say June 9th. Let's say that's the last day of spring. And then summer is going to be some date in August. I'll just pick some arbitrary date. August 3rd, thank you. So the beginning date is the date of the current semester that you're in. So this would be spring. If it were the summer semester, this would be the summer. So the beginning date of the current semester, and you're going to change it to the new date of the of the next semester, the following semester. You're going to change that. The ending date is the end date for the current semester. You're going to change that to the end date for the next semester. Now, before you answer your question or ask a question, there's a problem with it that you might have a problem. So the idea here is once I do this, I click import and everything else, every date that I have for an assignment, a discussion, a quiz, or office hour calendar dates and stuff, they're all going to adjust. They should adjust automatically, correctly, in theory. However, with the way our schedules work, problem with spring, you have spring break. And Canvas can't account for that. So you might have to do you don't assume, once I click import, that everything's going to be perfect. You'll still have to review. So for example, in my case, my second Canvas course that I taught started on a Friday. Very first day officially started on Friday. This course started on a Monday. Because of those two different dates, when I did my import process, the first 4 or 5 items were incorrect. I had to correct those, but the rest of the items were good. Does that make sense? So that's something you'll have to watch.
You can just drag those around on the calendar.
Once you're done, you can drag those around on your calendar. You had a question, William?
Yeah, what happens if you're doing a 16-week course into a 6 or 8-week course? Will that automatically compress all the dates? Because there's a lot of things.
You'd probably, I can't give you an honest question on that, but I'd probably have to sit there and say that's something you'd have to take a look at and examine a little further. As far as, because that's going to be the different times. This only works perfectly when there's an equal number of weeks within a certain time frame, starting on the same day. So that's something that you have to go through, but that's just an option here. So for right now, in the context of what we're doing, import content, copy a Canvas course, you select the course, the original course, the parent course where all the course content is. In your case, you should have your training course selected. You want all content, and then we're going to click on import. Click on import. That's running, and I don't know why that black bar is there, but that's there. So this is running, should be running for you as well.
Well, I'm not ready to import mine yet.
That's fine.
How long will our old courses be available?
available for as long as you work here, William.
So once we got our fall set up and our spring set up and our summer set up, I could just import if I was gonna do summer, I could import my last summer class and that would,
Yes.
that would already be the 6 weeks, so the dates would adjust.
Right. And by the end of the day, once you finish this training course, these training sandboxes you created, I want to encourage you to keep on using them. I mean, obviously you're going to finish out your course. I would sit there as a model here. I mean, as we're doing this process right now, if you're doing this, it's an official course, you could start building it. But what I would recommend process is continue working in your Canvas training sandbox, finish your course out completely, finish all the rest of the modules completely, then copy it over to an official course. Then once you're done, you have now a training sandbox, or what we call a development sandbox now. Do whatever you want. That's where you practice. That's where you learn new things. That's where you can experiment and not worry about affecting your students in any way. Yes, Susan.
I clicked on select specific content and I don't get anything for copying. You know, so if I want to copy, you know, this and that,
Right.
how do I get to that? Like,
We'll
Blackboard, you get a whole list.
All right, I'll do that whole process. So what she was talking about, select specific content. I'll show that here, but let's finish off this one right here. Did somebody else have a question, by the way? I saw a hand go up.
Yeah, I teach different classes, so I could get multiple sandboxes, right? Like, I don't want to develop 2 classes in one sandbox. I would rather have like my English 120 in one sandbox and my English 124 in another sandbox.
Right.
And in theory, if I like change my themes or topics, I would kind of like to have multiple sandboxes. So that way, like, this is my 120 where I focus on this. This is my 120 where I use these things.
So just development shell ones. In the announcements today, I will post a link to district. There's a link to district to a bunch of forms and how to make specific requests, i.e., I want a sandbox created. I want a user added to my account. So if somebody was evaluating your account, I have an LTI, a third-party product. I will post that link up so you can have that. And then anytime you want to create one for a specific thing, you go in and fill that form out, and that gets sent to district, and then the process gets taken from there. All right, so let's look at this one, current jobs here. Again, do not ignore current issues. So we look at issues right here. There's 2 issues. And these are just security. These are just random stuff here. There's nothing for me to click on. The only thing that I would sit there and being concerned about is if there was an actual link here, before there was an issue with this course where there was a broken, it'll like on a page, it caught a broken link on an actual page and it reported it to me. And I was able to correct that link. So, point here, all I wanted to sit there and say is, I don't want you to ignore these. If you come up with something that doesn't make sense or anything else, there's no links, I wouldn't concern myself about it. But if there's something here that doesn't make sense to you, feel free to email me. I'll take a look at it. But otherwise, there should be a link here that points you to a specific issue. Now, the next question was, how does select specific content work? So let me go ahead and reset this course. I'm going to reset this course. I don't know if this button, click on settings. It's there. Do not click that button. Because as you look here, as I go through here, I have a course now. It was blank and everything else. I probably might recommend, I'm going to figure out a way to turn that off. If you say reset course content, you just deleted your entire course. And that's one thing that I would also, I'm going off on a tangent now because we talk about backups and stuff like that. I'm very anal about that. You know, I was talking with Susan before. I have a passion for technology, but by no means I don't trust it. Number one thing that's infallible is the actual idiot, the human that's actually using it. And I can't tell you how many times that I've made mistakes and stuff like that. So what I'd sit there and say is once you've actually developed an actual course, you're happy where it's at, you have that shell or anything else, I would sit here and say export course content and then create an export file. And then you can download that file to your computer, save it to Dropbox, save it to Google Drive, save it to wherever, have multiple copies because one copy is not enough. It's not a true backup. If you only have one copy, you're fooling yourself. You should have in multiple places. You should have a hard copy on your computer, burn it to a CD, and then do it to Dropbox. Yes, George?
Will reset course content, will that give us that blank slate?
It will start your course over. So if you've deleted, if you've deleted, you have course content. So if Chris, who has a great criminals investigation course, which I'm going to read because that's a fascinating topic to me, If Chris right now were to actually go in, click settings and say reset course content, Chris is not going to be happy because he's going to just delete everything that he's just done. And he would have to do it over again. And I'm sure that's not what he wants to do.
Does it give you an "Are you sure" box?
Yeah, no kidding.
I always like
A
those.
double, are you sure?
Well, so we have, just look, I've just done it twice here. So as we go through here, I click on settings. I say reset course content. There's the are you sure? Resetting course will permanently delete everything. That's why I sit here and say I created export content. I created my export file. I have a download file here that I'm downloading. It's an IMSCC file. IMSCC file. Show in folder. So this is my course. This is my entire course. It's 50 megs big. DC Canvas Training IMSCC. So what I would do right now, I'd have a copy on my computer. I might burn it to a CD or put it on a USB drive. And then I'm a Google guy. I'm going to upload it to Google Drive so I have a copy up there. So I have multiple places. I'm backed up. So if I did an idiot decision and if I did something stupid, not paying attention to what I was doing, and said reset course content, and now I just wiped out my course, I have that back file, I have that backup file that I can revert back to, import content. Now, settings.
Will we have access to the Sandbox that you set up for us for this training class?
That training class, that Sandbox is yours forever. That's not going anywhere. So as you go through and you're finishing out your criminal investigation course, and when that's done, it's developed in your training Sandbox, you'll import that to a current semester. You'll have that training Sandbox, practice with it, do whatever you want with it, create course content, do whatever. Yes, sir.
I'm noticing that in the course I just imported a Sandbox into, the homepage doesn't include the announcements. So a few settings in like navigation, you have to tweak those a bit or mess with something.
So you're saying you did a complete import process and the announcements didn't come over.
The announcements are in the announcement section of my class, but they're not automatically.
I see what he's saying. So what Adam's talking about here is, Adam, as we looked at, and let's look at my course because it's going to be the same thing. So we look
in settings. The thing to show announcements is already set at 3 and clicked.
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of weird.
So does that look at mine? So what Adam is going to sit here and say, as we know, I said in my assignments and everything else, we wanted the recent announcements to show up on the page. However, if we look at my course right here, I have to choose a home page. I just reset my course. So we can show you that in a minute. But to answer, you want to make sure that if you're like certain specific, the content will transfer. The point that I'm trying to make with what Adam's saying is content will transfer over, but settings that you've had for a course, you might have to redo.
Like your links to a third party.
Right, you might have to redo. All right, so I want to get back to what Susan was talking about. Susan was talking about selecting specific course content when importing course. So I'm going to go back into import content into this course. I'm going to say copy a Canvas course. I'm going to copy my GC2, Introduction to Canvas. Instead of saying all content, I could say select specific content. So why would you want to do this? I just showed you how to export your course and everything else. So this could be great, especially in your situation. Michael, you could have great stuff you've done in LaTeX and everything else. You've exported your course. You have that export file. And Susan sees what, or Sharon sees what you've done and she wants a copy of that. You can export that content and then Sharon can come in here. She can copy that content, import it into her course, and she'd want to select specific content if she just wants those specific things. I click import. Right here, if Susan, if you saw, waiting to select. So what it does is whatever item that you say import, it analyzes it, and it says, okay, I understand what I have selected. I understand what I'm working with now. What do you want me to import? Right here, I say select content. Now, is this where you got mixed up, Sharon? Susan?
No, I never even got that far. So,
so you're good.
I'm good at the. you have to click on the import after
Right.
you hit select.
Okay.
And I was waiting for that to come up before I clicked import.
Right.
So it's in a different order than say Blackboard.
So on this one, we have all of our stuff here. If let's just say I wanted my modules, I could just select modules and then I would say import content, and it would only import my module section, or it could import quizzes, or it can import. So that's how you could import specific things.
And because it's Canvas, we can do more than one at a time.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas
Canvas.
Blackboard,
Blackboard, it's
you
only one
said
at a
one.
time. You had a question, Michael?
If I import or export things like content area, how can she view it to import it? Where does it go to everybody can share?
If you export content,
That's what you're describing, and then she can import certain content into her course.
right.
Where does it go that we share this information that she can import? Where's she dragging it from?
Well, the idea would be there's either one or two scenarios. She could be enrolled in your course and she could see that information and she could do a copy course. Or you could create, you know how I just created that export file? You could create that export file, give it to her, and then she can and then import it into her course and then select whatever content. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
Button that says import from Commons.
Commons. Creative Commons. Somebody asked me about this. All right, so Creative Commons. Commons is, let's talk about create. No, it's the same thing. Import from Commons. You need to understand what Commons is. So the question was import from Commons.
Yeah, import.
But I need to explain to you what Commons is. So Commons is a resource section. Anybody, this is another way you could share, to answer your question again, this is the third option. You could share your content. You could share modules, assignments, quizzes, all your LaTeX quizzes. You figured out a great way to do them. Sharon wants to take them from you, your discussion. You can share all of this content up here. And then faculty members can actually find it. So in my course, I believe it was you, Chris. Did you ask me about sharing resources? I think it was in the message. I don't know if it was you or not. Somebody asked me about sharing resources.
Here's where we're actually being good socialists about it, right?
So in the modules section, there was a request from faculty. They liked the course resources section. So I have a course resources section with different links and stuff like this. In here, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to name this Grossmont Course Resources, so I know this is mine. If I click on this module, right here, I'll say Share to Commons. So I click on this link right here, it says Share to Commons. Who can use this resource? Do we want everybody, public, any Canvas user, or only people in the Grossmont Community College District? So that way you're keeping your content private if you want just people in Grossmont. So that would mean anybody Grossmont related or Queen Maca will still see it, but the rest of the world that's using Canvas won't. Yes, William?
Once you've done it, can you later pull it from Commons?
That I don't know. Well, I'm sure it shouldn't be a problem.
Is that going to be the easiest way to distribute it to other faculty?
This would be the easiest way. This would be the easiest way. So let's go select, we have a license. This is Creative Commons, so it's copyrighted, public domain. There's all these different Creative Commons stuff as far as how you want to sit there and go through it. This is just, for me, it's public domain. I'm not familiar with all these other ones. If you want to understand what these are, you want to search on Creative Commons or click on the Help Me Choose link, and this will explain to you what Creative Commons is all about and what you want to do if your content means something to you. But mine are just a bunch of links, so I'm just going to say public domain. So metadata, this is resources, sources that are helpful for faculty at Grossmont College.
Now, students don't have comments.
Grades, outcomes, yeah, these are only for your courses. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff here. So this one is, you want to sit there and go through, this is grades and outcomes. This is graduate, undergraduate level stuff. And I'm just going to share. There's more options here. I would obviously, you would want to enter in tags. You would want to enter in other information. But for right now, let's just do this. I'm just going to click share. Oh, I have to do this. All right, so Grossmont. That's one. Click to change. I don't have one.
What's the tag?
A tag is you label some, like, you know, on a folder, like you can have a folder and it has content in it. But if Sharon goes in and sees that folder, she doesn't know what it's in it until she opens it. But you know that little label on the side? You can tag that folder and say, this is geometry questions. And then she understands, okay, that's geometry. And so I tag specific things. And then when online, the idea is you could search for Grossmont and anything relating to Grossmont or whatever would come up. That makes sense. Is there anything in Grossmont College? Let's see. I'm just typing a keyboard. All right. Actually, let me go back here. Click to change. It's what it's asking me to do. I'm just searching on Flickr for whatever image resources. Recommended resources. That's what I'll do. Then I'm going to share that. Each tag must be 3 to 30 characters, and I already have tags. I've already done this. Oh, it's because I had the blank one here. All right, so let's see. Let's click share. We share it. Now, unfortunately, we can't. I was hoping we could sit there and get this because this is the first time I've actually used this myself, but it's going to take up to 30 minutes. It could take up to 30 minutes to process. I might want to test something here. If you go into Commons, let's see if it actually works here. So in the Commons, I'm going to search, say, Grossmont.
And we'll see if it's pending somewhere.
If it's not there, you would see my recommended resources logo.
Once you go into Commons, where do you go to Grossmont?
There's a search field where there's a search by, you can search by tags and stuff like that in the Commons.
Oh, I see.
You could search, but it's not processed yet. I'll let you know. I'll let you know when it's actually available and you can search for it and everything else. But the idea is in Commons, when it's actually available, so let's type in math. So there's an everyday math, proportional relationships. There's a quiz here. Let's say if I wanted proportional relationships, let's just pretend this is the Canvas resources that Chris asked me to post up here. If you wanted that imported in your course, you would just select your course. So this is my training Sandbox, and then I would just say click import to course. And if it's whatever it is, assignment, module, whatever, it's going to import directly into your course. So that'd be the better. So ultimately, that's going to be the most easiest way to share content. And then going back, William, you had asked too, if I could get to that page. I can't get back to the resource page, but the resource page that I was on, William, it said, could you pull it? I could remove it. There was a link I saw on the button there that you could actually pull it.
Because I was going to say, if you wanted to share something with somebody specifically and not anybody else, you can put it up there, let them know, they can download it, then you can take it off.
Yeah. All right, with that being said, unfortunately, it's 11:30 now. You're more than welcome to stay after. I will stay here till 12 o'clock. Make sure you get your final projects in if you haven't already by 11:59. I will be more than happy to answer any questions regarding those. Otherwise, it's been a great time with you folks. I enjoyed it. From this point forward, any one-on-one sessions, if you have any questions regarding Canvas one-on-ones, you want to work with me, especially before you start teaching. If you're especially starting to teach in summer, I want to make sure that as you finish developing your course and you're about ready to teach, you come in, meet with me if you want, or we can do a Zoom session. We can review your course and make sure it's actually ready to go for your course. To reiterate also for this, Janet Gilb's going to be grading all the assignments. Please give us at least 2 weeks for that to get back to you, and then we'll get all the certificates and your professional development credit if you pass the course over. Yes, sir.
Question, but it's kind of.
All right, cool. Let me stop the session here. I'm going to end the session here. Otherwise, if you have other things to do, you guys have a good day.
No, I just.